Well, my name is Alex Stehle. This is my new woodworking shop for my business, Stehle Woodworking. I've been a woodworker for maybe 12 years, starting very casually. But the real introduction to my woodworking career kind of started in my senior year of college. We were at a bar in Milwaukee and playing shuffleboard, and I probably overconfidently thought that I could build a shuffleboard table, not knowing exactly how difficult that was. But I stuck with it, and 200 plus hours later, I had built what I thought was a pretty cool shuffleboard table. So this is my shuffleboard table. It also incorporates what I consider my style of gluing up different hardwood pieces and using that to add to the look of a table. So like on the sides here, the main wood here is hickory. This all started as one piece. I then glued up or inlaid, but it's an edge glue, this mahogany to add some red to the tan of the hickory. This is maple on top. It's kind of a banding to give a little bit of width to the top of the table. And then this is a decorative softwood piece that I had to dado into the hickory that I thought just added a nice cool little look to the edge of the table. These score pieces here were one of my more proud creative add-ons to this table. But these are handmade little circles that you can slide to keep score. So you play shuffleboard up to 15. And I dyed the 5th score piece on every one, so you can kind of easily keep track of what number you're at. But they just slide on a brass bar, and you can keep track of your score right on the side of the table. After college, I just decided to totally disregard my degree, and I got a woodworking job at Workbench and Tool in Fitchburg, just a lumber mill and a custom trim shop. And I ran some heavy machinery there, and that was a great starter job for woodworking. From there, I moved to an artist shop in Paoli, Richard Judd Furniture. He's an extremely talented furniture maker. He makes curved veneer furniture, and I learned a lot from him, and he's just the nicest guy in the world, and really enjoyed working there. But I had a real passion for working with solid hardwoods, which led me to a job at the Wood Cycle here in Oregon, where I worked for 5.5 years. And there I really harnessed my skills as a woodworker. I became more talented. I learned an instrumental amount to the woodworker I am now. And now I have my side business, Stehle Woodworking, in my house that my girlfriend and I bought a year ago. And this is my dream shop down here now. So these tables have something I had never done before using these tables, and it's called a through wedged tenon. So these 3 kind of horizontal anchors to this table, they go all the way through this leg, mortise and tenon joint, and then there's a small wedge piece that when I glue these legs together, I have a small cutout in this cherry side horizontal piece here, and I hammer a wedge into here, and that expands to the through tenon and provides a really tight joint on the leg. So it's partially for looks, but this table will last generations due to the mortise and tenon joinery on all the joints, and it also has that very cool look to it. So this is one of my most recent pieces, and I think it's one of my favorite pieces I've ever made. It's, I would call it a hall table or a sofa table. It's a little bit taller, not as deep, and wider. I really loved the design. The woods that it's made out of are 2 just absolutely gorgeous woods. They are bubinga, which is the top, and then curly maple, which is one of my favorite woods. I had this piece of lumber hanging onto it for years, maybe 5 or 6 years in my shop, because I could tell that it had some of the coolest grain I've ever seen in my life. You can call it figured grain or curly grain, but it's highly figured bubinga. So all of my curves and all of my furniture, and I love incorporating curves, they are all carved. So I don't bend anything, at least I haven't yet to this point. But all my curves, which I incorporate, I cut on a bandsaw to get the curve, and then I sand it really smooth from there. And that you can add endless curve perceptions. And like I said, that's really one of my favorite pieces to incorporate.
How do you know that you have not that you've sanded enough so when you shellac it or varnish it, that those scratches aren't in there? Because there aren't any in there from the wood sanding from sandpaper. How do you know that?
Right. So experience is key, but what I learned going through the process was you always have to start with a low grit. Whether this board was run through a planer where it gets knife marks from the steel in a planer, or it's run through what we call a wide belt or a drum sander, you're going to have some heavy duty machinery marks before you start hand sanding this top. And the key is to start with a low grit, like 100 grit or 60 even, to get rid of those big machine marks. And from there, and you really learn this through experience, how much time it takes, what grits to use, you just work yourself up to a grit that you feel comfortable with, won't show up on a finished product. And you can kind of use some tricks like lighting, looking at the table and kind of direct reflective lighting to see if you have sanding marks. So most of my business is traveling around to art and craft fairs in the area. It's how I started selling things, and it's how I've really grown my business, and still is by far the biggest part of my business, traveling around to different local ones mostly. Probably my most popular items to sell are smaller things like jewelry boxes here. Cribbage boards have become popular in the last couple of years for me. I absolutely love making cutting boards because they can fit my style of using different contrasting hardwoods. So like this one has the white maple, this red padauk, this black wenge, and then black walnut. I've made a lot of cutting boards, and I still have a lot of fun making them. Endless designs you can use with them. This is a wine glass holder. Just a fun decorative piece that makes a really good gift with a bottle of wine. And then I bring my tables to, this piece is zebra wood, a very cool grain, also a coastal African wood species. And I think it blends really well with black walnut. And I call this my pedestal table. It's perfect for next to a chair. It doesn't hold too much. Doesn't take up too much space, but it can hold a cell phone, coffee, TV remote.